Welcome to episode 7 of Tower Dive. Recorded on... what's the date, DTwo?
August 29th, where you live.
Wednesday, August 29th. Solid. We're all alone today, mostly because I didn't want to bring anyone else in to get contaminated by my germs. I'm still recovering from a trip to GamesCom, as you can probably hear in my voice. Travel, sickness, planes, qualifiers, some combination thereof. But it's a great day to be talking about Arena of Valor because tomorrow is Patch Day.
Yay! Hooray, Patch Day!
My name is TJ, I'm joined by D2. Let's open things up with talking about Gamescom. Of course, I was there, and that I really enjoyed because it was our first look at many of the European teams, with Valor Series Season 2 announced and starting soon, and including Europe, North America, and LATAM. I'm really eager to see all the little details that we can glean from even an early performance like that.
Yeah, getting to see the new composition and how strong these new European teams are is very interesting to me, especially because, one, people were wondering how good Team Noob, now Team Nova, is going to be after, they weren't able to go to E3. They were very good, and they would have been very good over there. But all the other teams are completely split up, and we have teams becoming super teams, drawing players from multiple teams, trying to put them together. We also have new players trying to make their mark, especially because there are certain regions like Spain and Germany who are really trying to make their mark and show how strong they are in the game, since they have a lot of community events going on as well. So yeah, I just want to see who will rise, which of the super teams will actually be super, and if anyone can stop Team Nova right now, who is the former Team Noob.
So, I had a kind of fun experience there because I was completely surprised on multiple levels. First off, Nova Esports was a cool roster to see because they're still terrifying. It's still Team Noob, it's still the #1 team in North America. And Bubble Team, which is the remnants of For the Dream, are still a very good team in their own right. But Team Queso, can I talk to you about my Spanish cheese-loving fanatics? Because I casted Team Queso for 2-3 months, and they were mediocre at best. They were an online team, they played a ton of online games during the ESL Open Cups, and they didn't do great. All of the Spanish teams, not just Team Queso, all of the Spanish teams are insanely good right now. And I absolutely believe that come Season 2 of Valor Series, much of the European bracket is going to be comprised of Spanish teams.
I think a lot of the Spanish uprising is due to the fact that they're able to study the rest of the regions via, AWC, before that in the Valor series. And it seemed like they were catching up the entire time during the Valor series, slowly but steadily getting better, figuring out how to win games. Whereas in the very beginning, when you were casting them, it was like they're just playing on ladder, they're just playing with each other on, among Spanish teams. And now they're really getting a feel for the meta and getting a feel for how to play this game after seeing the top players in the world show how to play it.
Speaking of Valor Series Season 2, it's going to be exciting because it will be played on the new patch. We just got the patch notes for the West released, and most exciting to me, of course, are the wide variety of map changes and character balance. But let's start with something that hasn't been as much touched on. There have been a whole bunch of quality of life changes that I actually was astounded by, because they're really, really smart. You can now edit your pre-built build. That's a sentence. Re-edit your pre-built build mid-game. So you can edit what you're building next, which is a surprisingly cool feature. There's a built-in tutorial lady in the bottom right corner of your screen at all times, which I'm not sure how I feel about.
I know how I feel about it.
How do you feel about it, D2?
I'm sorry, but it's really annoying. Alice just kind of appears in the bottom right and just yells at you sometimes. But we'll see. Hopefully, her voice lines are a bit better on the Tencent servers because when I used her on SEA, she yelled at me and called me boy, BOII, and I'm like, what? I was like, I'm a man, okay, Alice.
I'm sorry that you feel your masculinity was assaulted.
Exactly.
That's kind of an interesting thing because you have been playing on servers where this patch is already live. So, just speaking quality of life changes, what is the number one thing you miss going back to the Western live patch?
It has to be the editing the build in game. It's so nice to be able to pre-edit your build going forward because before, if you had an item that was, like fourth on your list or third or fourth, and you knew you didn't want that there, but you had nothing you could do. You just had to remember when the time came. And obviously when you're in the middle of a game, it's so easy to just auto select the item that shows up on your screen on the right side for me because that's where I have it. And then everyone has that experience where you wanted to build something and you accidentally auto pick whatever the thing comes up on the right side, and it's completely opposite to what you wanted to build. It's like a attack item instead of a defense item, and all of a sudden you're way behind. You have to sell this, and it takes time to go through the menu and a key point in the game. Whereas now you can, anytime there's any sort of lull in the action, you can just set up your build going forward and do exactly what you want to do.
Let's talk about items, because those change a lot in the new patch too. Blitzblades, I don't really want to talk about, but I kind of have to, because Valheim is a thing almost exclusively because of the change to it.
Exactly. Blitzblade has actually been changed for about a couple months now on Taiwan and some other servers, and he has turned into, surprisingly, an extremely good solo laner. He's basically the only very viable solo laner marksman because Rourke isn't really that great in the solo lane. So the way they're building him is they go for Blitzblade, and then they go a very defensive build using Frost Cape and Hyoga's Edge and just being a slow and stun master or annoying person, as you will.
The Blitzblade passive, every 4 seconds the next normal attack triggers a chain lightning attack, right?
Yes.
And that's cheaper.
Exactly.
It triggers more often that your normal attacks are doing widespread AoE damage.
And not just normal damage, it's also magic damage. So you have to deal with marksman dealing magic damage, which is super annoying.
Which is insane, because the Valheim AP build is now a thing.
This is true. Valheim AP build, I would argue, was always better than the AD build. Now Valheim has 3 builds, basically. His best build is going to be the DS-ling, tanky, slowy build. His second best is going to be AP, and his third best is going to be AD. Ability power and attack damage, for those who don't know what that means.
Moving on, I'm excited for a wide variety of the changes. Jinnar is a little bit better. He can moving too. Shout that, please.
Moving too!
And DTwo loves it.
It's amazing.
Pura can moving ult, and that I don't love that, actually. Creshed is generally more effective. His ult happens a ton more, which is a little bit terrifying, because that's a lot more Creshed to deal with for a character whose ult is literally everything that matters about him. And Rourke isn't broke.
Exactly. So people won't have to insta-ban him on the Tencent servers anymore, which is great. You can actually ban other heroes, which is nice. You don't have to worry about Rourke completely destroying your towers in 1 second. That said, Rourke still does a lot of damage. So even if there's no bug that gives him extra damage on towers, he still will kill towers quickly just because he does a lot of damage. That's how his character works. So people say it's not fixed. He's still 3 or 4 shots towers. No, he just does a lot of damage. So yeah.
I want to address the Switch release as well, because the Switch release is launching September. I don't believe they've given a more specific date than that. I got to actually play it for the first time while I was at GamesCom, and they kind of clarified some of their positions. So, going down the list, there'll be a global server for Nintendo Switch, meaning everyone's playing on the same server, not any of the US, EU server stuff that happens on mobile. And it will be separate from the mobile game, including microtransactions. However, they're hosting a, and I quote here, status match event, which means that if you log in with your mobile account in some way, it will unlock characters and transfer some rewards over to the Nintendo Switch version. So they're bringing something over, it's not clear exactly what.
Right. That is huge news, though, because people were thinking they had to start from scratch again, which a lot of people would not want to do. And by allowing players to transfer some of their progress, it will bring way more users than it would have if they had to, go from the beginning again.
Fun things that I enjoyed is the game will not require a subscription to the Nintendo Online stuff, which is cool because the Nintendo Online stuff sucks. Fight me, Nintendo fans. And secondly, the game has a Hook Wars Joy-Con mode where you can use the motion sensor, I assume, to throw hooks.
Did they just do that for you, TJ?
Yes, absolutely. And I am buying a Switch.
Just hooked him right in. Just got him.
Valor Series Season 2 was properly announced, and you can view those full details by heading over to ValorSeriesEsports.com, which is a brand new hub site, something I felt was missing during Season 1, so I'm very happy to see it's there. It started with the Valor Series kickoff event that we did at GamesCom, and then we led into some qualifiers for the 3 regions, that's EU, North America, and Latin America. Those 3 regions each have a $65,000 prize pool, coming out to a $200,000 prize pool for all 3 regions, and that's insane in and of itself. The finals, the playoffs, instead of happening at E3 like they did last season, will happen in Brazil, and of course it will lead into the Arena of Valor International Championship somewhere in Southeast Asia.
Yeah, I really like the changes that they made to Valor Series Season 2, after Season 1. The Season 1 thing was a bit awkward because you had people coming in and moving out of the main brackets, basically. And having the tournament every single week meant that it was just kind of up in the air as far as who got lucky enough to not get paired against Team Noob or, Team Allegiance all the time. And so now that they're basically copying the other big leagues around the world, that being the GCS of Taiwan, the RPL of Thailand, and Arena of Glory of Vietnam. Basically, they have 6 teams that are permanently in, and they basically play in double round robins. And the nice thing about that is now there's going to be major storylines, and I know that you love that as a caster.
Storylines! Narrative!
Exactly.
For more input on that, listen to our discussion with Jump about casting Arena of Valor. # cross-promotion, DTwo.
I know, right? So, and not only for the casters too, I know that the viewers like to watch their favorite teams. And, it seemed like they were only really familiar with the top teams, Team Noob, For the Dream, Allegiance, Immortals. And so now, they could have a following for maybe like a Team Queso, who was like maybe a middling team or someone at the bottom. And yeah, it'll be fun to watch, especially if teams get better throughout the season, they make a comeback, things could be crazy.
Yeah, it should be a really fun paradigm shift. And of course, the qualifiers themselves were exciting. We broadcasted them on my channel, # cross-promotion. You can find those VODs on my Twitch channel. And T2, did you upload them anywhere? No? Okay.
I don't have a recording. But...
Yeah, I realized that halfway through asking the question. The European qualifier, which we did together, was one of the more interesting ones because Alliance and Vitality, neither of them made it through the lower bracket. The top 4 were all Spanish teams, Bubble Team, which is X For the Dream, and Nova Esports, which is X Team Noob.
I think that's what you're going to see going forward, actually. Just to make a prediction, I think it's going to be Bubble Team, Team Nova, and then Spanish teams, because I think the Spanish teams have just risen. They're not quite on the level to overthrow Team Nova, but I think they're way better, and it'll be fun to see how good they can get throughout the season, because I think they're just going to continue to improve.
Well, as it stands right now, there's actually a reasonable chance that neither Vitality nor Alliance will qualify for Valor Series Season 2. Both of those names are massive esports organizations. Alliance just got formed It would be insane if neither of them made it, and it would be really interesting to see whether or not they held on to those rosters, because I wouldn't.
Yeah, that is very interesting to point out. That would be a huge disappointment for both of those teams. And I agree with you. Why have those rosters going forward if they're going to go through an entire Valor Series Season 2, having your team not be in there? You could maybe see a team get bought out, for instance, like maybe Alliance just buys Team Katsu or something like that. That might be an option for those big organizations. Another way for the players themselves is to perhaps, try to appeal to the teams that are in and say like, hey, maybe you can use me instead of this person who I think is not as good as me. So it certainly brings up a lot of drama as far as team switching and, player acquisition. And I'm kind of excited to see the drama, actually, even though I'm usually not a drama guy.
You lie. In North America, things were a little bit more down to earth. Immortals notably didn't make a showing. I don't know what's up with that. Flipside Tactics went out quite early on in the bracket. Again, that's a signed roster. They were taken out by DTF, or Drawn to Fame, as their name properly is.
Oh, God.
A team made up of ex-Mobile Legends players, led by some of the prominent members of Dino Riders.
Yeah, not surprising there, to be honest.
And that roster did make it reasonably far into the tournament before eventually falling and forming a top four that consists of DTF, Drawn to Fame, Toxic, Marauders, and most notably, of course, Allegiance, who still looked dominant, pulling out an AP Valheim to win the Grand Finals.
Nice.
This is pre-patch, of course, so there's literally no reason that AP Valheim should work, but Rocker ran it in jungle, because he's Rocker, and it works.
Yeah. Rocker has a way of just messing with our tier list, because he does things with heroes that shouldn't make sense.
Vex, too.
Vex as well, exactly. Though
And
Vex,
they kind of both made appearances, which was really refreshing to see, because it's... I don't know, I like the star players, and I felt like we were missing them with Rocker, and Vex didn't make it. I like the focus around some of the celebrity and the drama of players that are just too good for comprehension.
Right, and since there's such a an emphasis on esports from Tencent in particular, it's kind of imperative that they have the star players and the people to draw people to the game in the first place. I agree with you. I think that having those players back in, having their names be in there and seeing their play and seeing crazy things like AP Valheim win a tournament is super important and super exciting.
So, to go back over, the North American tournament had about 20 teams sign up. I think it was almost 30 by the time of the tournament itself. The European qualifier had around 50. The South American qualifier had 100. And it's still going. They had to postpone the bracket, I think, till tomorrow at the time of recording, but that date's still shifting. And in the finals are sitting Nova Esports South America. They're waiting for the winners of Geo Esports, Douglas Geo's team, who you may remember, and I have fond memories, so I'm rooting for them a bit. And Pain Gaming, who of course represented South America in the World Championship. INTZ Esports is the notable other organization in this tournament, and they went out to Pain Gaming 2-0 in the lower bracket semi-final.
Yeah, that's kind of the dream, isn't it? For South America. Those are literally the only teams I know from South America, and they're the ones in the top 4/top 3. So yeah, a good job. I mean, those, if you're a major, if you're like Tencent, or if you're a fan just in the first place, those are the teams you want to see at the top. So that's great. And South American esports is just on the rise.
Oh yes, and I can't wait for them to be a part of Valor Series Season 2, because I just think there's going to be a level of enthusiasm and hype around those teams that has yet to be matched. There's a clip I saw recently of one of the South American players getting a kill versus Thailand at AWC. And it was just a kill. And it was the most hype thing out of the AWC. Forget the grand finals, forget the stunning 3-map comeback that gave Korea the world championship. That man was more psyched when he got a kill than I was for anything that happened in my entire life.
If only I could reach the pleasure and the excitement that man had at that moment.
Maybe if I got told I had a terminal illness or something, but I don't know.
And then recovered from it somehow miraculously.
Oh, no. It's just the terminal illness I want.
What?
End my suffering. Let's look ahead for Valor Series Season 2. We've seen the North American teams. We've seen the European teams. I didn't quite get to broadcast the South American teams. How do you feel? Do you have any strong predictions?
Okay. Well, easiest prediction is Allegiance is probably going to run away with Season 1. They're just too experienced.
Allegiance had a map taken off of them multiple times. They looked threatened in a way they haven't looked ever. And that was exciting to see. They were still better than their opposition, but it became close enough that some extraordinarily bad luck could cost them a match. And that is an improvement.
Yeah, in the competition. That said, it is a round robin, so I think they can drop like one match and still be in the top. Although we should say that the matches are best of 2, so you can actually tie matches.
Yeah.
Which is interesting. But I would say that I'm more confident in Allegiance taking North America.
I think they're treated as individual games. So it's just the BO2, they're played 2 maps at a time, but they're treated as individual games in the scoring. That's my understanding.
Right. Just to make it so that, you're just adding up all the points, which is nice. So, and I like it that way better, because then you don't have like these weird 3-game results mixing with 2-game results. But yeah, I think that Allegiance will win, and I have less confidence in Team Nova winning Europe. I think that there is a lot of room for the other teams to catch up to them, and they still don't play quite as a team that you expect from one of the top teams. The thing about Allegiance is they have the best players, and well, I guess you could say maybe Dino Raiders if their players gets better. What team is that again? I forgot.
Dino Riders doesn't exist anymore.
Right? No, DTF,
they have been mixed up. There's DTF, there is Marauders, and there is. Okay. Hold up.
I mean, the Dino Riders.
Nope. I know. I don't have this. I don't have this up. I'm sorry. Continue.
I was just bringing up Dino Riders because their players are very talented, and the team that they went to, those have the opportunity to upend Allegiance because of their talent. But Allegiance has great talent and great team coordination, whereas Nova just has great talent, in my opinion.
Toxic.
That's
not to be confused with non-toxic esports.
It's the great rivalry of the region, in mind and in theory.
I'm very excited for Europe as well. I think Europe is going to be the great mosh pit. I think North America will be a lot closer than Season 1, but I think it's going to be Europe, like you said, where the storylines are going to develop and things are going to be spicy.
Right, and I like the fact that everyone gets a crack at Nova instead of whoever happens to get to the finals, because it seemed like in Valor Series Season 1 that people were just wanting to get to the finals in the first place, because there was always like the second seed and the third seed going off on the other side of the bracket, and they were just focused on trying to get to the finals in the first place, and they weren't really focused on trying to beat Nova. And they're like, oh my god, this is the big thing, we're in the finals, we need to beat Nova, we're trying to figure out like how to upend this monster. Whereas having it be a round robin thing, I think that going up against Nova will be less of a deal, and teams will just kind of treat it like another match, essentially, and that'll help them relax and just play the normal game.
It's the format shift. Every game matters.
Right. So yeah, you can just focus on that week and not have to worry about getting through multiple teams.
Well, this has been a sick episode. Get it? Because
Literally.
I'm sick and the episode was hot fire. We'll just be dropping this mixtape here. We'll be back next Wednesday with another episode, and that will be post-patch and what? Days before the first day of Valor series?
Yeah, it's very exciting stuff. A lot of stuff coming up. Esports, like great esports, and a huge change in the patch. I think we didn't talk about it, but the map changes are excellent, and they're
Yes.
going to make the game much better.
That was a preview of the next episode. We're going to talk about map changes, and I want to talk about how they're going to impact the competitive scene, because we'll have seen one qualifier on the new patch. So, we'll get into that next time. We'll have a guest, I promise. Hopefully, we can nail down Jay Jesse from Nova Esports in Europe. He's a very nice lad, and he said he'd like to be on. Thank you so much for listening. You can find me on Twitter at esportstj. You can subscribe to the podcast wherever podcasts are downloaded. You just have to search Arena of Valor and Tower Dive in that order, or any order. You choose the order. We're on all the podcasting services. You can also find us at samuraigamers.com. D2 writes for that website. You can find him as well as there, and D2HS on Twitter. We'll be back next week. Thank you so much for listening. Until next time, goodbye.
What if you search Arena Tower Dive?
I cough. And every time someone does that, my cold gets a bit worse. It's like an angel getting their wings. Maybe it works in reverse. Every time I cough, somebody searches for Arena of Tower Valor Dive.
The Valor Dive. We dive for the Valor.
Valor Dive is an accurate depiction of my ranked experience.
Nice.